The Bloodthirsty Tale of Christie and Caleb, a nightmarish encounter with vampires. Caleb and Christie pulled up to the old Victorian mansion at the outskirts of town. The winter wind chased them up the porch stairs, the whistling sound echoing as they unlocked the deadbolt. Everything inside was darkness, save the moon's faint light casting shadows through the lace curtains. Atmosphere hung heavy around them, making their breathing audible. "Do you feel that?" Christie asked. Her goosebumps were visible on her arms. "What?" Caleb glanced over his shoulder. "It's colder than it should be." Caleb attributed it to the open door and drafted windows. The house was large, and they had to light multiple lanterns as they found their way around. The furniture was antique lace curtains rippled in the slight breeze. "So, this is the place the rumors swirl around," said Caleb, looking around. "People say that the last residents were vampires." She touched his arm. "Really? You don't believe that, do you?" He laughed, trying to put her at ease. "Of course not. That's the stuff of horror stories." It wasn't long before they had acquainted themselves with the mansion's many rooms. After a big dinner, they sat down to enjoy the fire. Christie was in the middle of telling him about her younger days when she paused mid-sentence. "What is that?" The curtains at the window beside them moved, rustling like someone had passed. Caleb tensed, alert. He remembered the rumors, the tales of the night creatures that had once lived here. They hadn't even let a housemaid in its halls since before any of the local townspeople had been born. "Probably just a breeze," he said softly. They continued with the dinner, rationalizing the sounds they heard as settling floors and rustling curtains. But then it happened again, louder this time. "Did you hear that?" Christie asked. "I did." They went to investigate, but they heard footsteps, and they knew it wasn't their own. Caleb and Christie looked at each other in horror, the blood flowing from their faces. "What's happening?" Christie panicked, hovering up into the corner as far as she could get. Caleb's heartbeat drummed in his ears. He wanted to escape this place. "We need to leave here." They bolted toward the door, but it was too late. The old oak seemed to combine before their eyes. The thick timbers twisted together like elastic, trapping them inside. "What do we do?" Christie asked, terrified. "We lock the door and wait it out," he said, trying his best to keep her calm. It wasn't long before they started to hear scratching and scraping from outside. The sound came from the other side of the door, sometimes soft and sometimes loud. But the most distinct thing about it was the cold, eerie silence. "We can't stay here," Caleb said as he began to tug at the door lock. As he worked, they could hear scratches and screeches outside as if something was trying to claw its way into the house. They both knew it wasn't just their imagination. They could hear and feel those sinister beings coming from the other side. Christie had never been so scared in her life. She clung to Caleb, tears rolling down her cheeks. Suddenly, something burst through the door, almost knocking the couple over with its strength. They looked at the figure that stood silently in front of them. It was dressed in black with a hood, and it was so pale that it looked almost translucent. It took a step toward them, and Caleb instinctively stood in front of Christie, his eyes on the creature. The hood slipped, and as it did, Long fangs were shown that glimmered in the light of the lantern. Christie fainted. Caleb tried to keep it together. He had to protect her, no matter what. But what was he fighting against? Caleb knew he couldn't win against such a foe. The creature walked over to Christie and picked her up, bringing her closer to its sharp, pointed teeth. Caleb cried out and tried to run toward them, but he was stopped in his tracks by a group of the others. They slowly encircled him, their eyes glowing red. When one of them finally came too close, Caleb tried to fight back, slashing with a broken piece of wood. But it clattered to the floor, cracking in his hands. "Do not run away," the vampire warned casually. "It's much better to become like us." Caleb's heart raced as he watched the monster sink its teeth into Christie's neck. Her body went limp as she melted into his arms. Caleb cried out in horror, cradling her head in his arms. "No! Please, don't take her from me. Let her go," he begged, but to no avail. The group surrounded him like prey. Forcing him down onto his knees, they held him there as one of their kind sank its teeth into his neck. Caleb screamed, writhing in pain as the monsters drained his blood from his veins. When they were done, they left him for dead, his body twisted and contorted on the floor. As he faded into the darkness, he could feel his humanity slipping away. Caleb realized he was no longer human. He was damned to wander the earth for eternity with the monsters that once resided inside the mansion. Caleb would seek out others like them, all lost souls, damned to exist in darkness for eternity. And every night, when the full moon shone through the canopy of trees and cast eerie shadows across the forest, they would come out to hunt for their prey, seeking to sate their bloodlust for a little while longer. For Caleb, eternity would never end, and the nightmare would never stop.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and tell us what you think in the comments. And of course, don't forget to subscribe.